The world of work.
The world of work. The world of
The
work.
opportunity for men and women to put their skills to work in
Satisfying careers contributes to the quality of life for all people.
The dignity of work has always been part of the American story.
Classrooms that
connect learning with real work experiences
give students the opportunity to
explore vibrant career fields
and to find areas of interest in which they can make an impact
in the real world.
You only feel like you've made a difference. I think that's a fundamental human need.
In a working class, history provides clues for solving
present-day challenges. Math explains
the mystery behind technology.
We need individuals with strong math and science skills. We need individuals that can operate in a team. And we need individuals with technical skills.
And lessons in communication
help us to work together to build rich and rewarding lives.
People who make things are necessary.
Students and faculty
find passion and purpose where real lives intersect.
In a real working class.
In a real working class.
One evening, after thinking it over for some time, Harold decided to go for a walk in the moonlight. There wasn't any moon, and Harold needed a moon for a walk in the moonlight, and he needed something to walk on. He made a long, straight path so he wouldn't get lost, and he set off on his walk, taking his big purple crayon with him.
We are all born with creative impulses, and early in our lives, we form ideas about what we want to be when we grow up. It takes time, energy, effort, and achievement to grow into the kind of people we want to be. Each of us draws a unique career path using the tools that we are provided through education and life experiences that begin when we are children.
Really early on, I was really big into drawing. Coloring books were my favorite things ever. When I was probably 3 or 4, I think, was my earliest memory of doing anything creative. My parents were in the kitchen doing whatever, I don't even remember what they were doing at the time, but when they came in the room, I heard my mom say, "Chris, come in here, come look what Zach did." My father came in the room and said, "Wow, did you know he could write?" And my mom said, "No, I didn't know he could write." Well, I had spelled out my name in crayons.
I started early on. I liked tools since I was a little kid.
I was always very interested in the way things worked. I was always the kid that was looking under the rocks and seeing what was going on in the creek or what was going on up in the tree. Or I was one of those kids.
I love creativity. I love design. Just anything with flair.
I think that designers in general are curious people, so they're always trying to look to see where they can find new information.
I think it's the way we need to think, and it's the way we need to teach our children to think. The way traditional education might prepare our students for entering the real world may not be sufficient anymore. We need thinkers, we need designers, so we need to give our students, our children, these tools so that they know how they can participate in and mold their world.
Do you find yourself really enjoying making something, whether it's out of paper, whether it's drawing, whether it's using paint or crayons or color pencils or clay or anything where you're expressing yourself? I challenge you to think, how could I be involved with the profession some way or form?
If I like to doodle, or if I like to draw or paint, or if I just have all these great ideas in my mind, How do you get a paycheck from something like that? And that's a big question.
What makes something beautiful and useful? What effect does creativity have on how things are made? How is a popular maker movement reinventing ideas of shop work? Why is math an important tool for creative artists? What impact do designers have on our world? And what innovations might they create for the future? Join us as we explore the world of design and consider careers that invite opportunities to use imagination and skill in planning and making decisions about how things are made during this episode of Working Class Dream and Do.
Design is a medium of change, and it's a medium of communication, and it's a medium of changing people's attitudes towards things.
A lot of people have good ideas, but to take a good idea and make it real, it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of detail, and it takes something beyond the pure pursuit of art in design.
To be successful as a designer, I think first of all, you have to have a real passion for it. Designers tend to make pretty good living, but don't go into it for as a reason being that you can make a good living. It should be something that you do just because it's fun.
My interest in science and creativity led to design and inventiveness, and then I looked at professions that connected with that. And really, the applied sciences are often a refuge for people who are looking for a regular job, a steady paycheck, an interesting job, but one that seems within reach.
When you hear the word design, you might think about fashion or home decor or logos that stand out on the items you buy. You see examples of design everywhere you look. The buildings that surround you, the devices you use every day, the websites you visit, the vehicles that move you, the billboards you read along the way, even the tools and machines used to produce all of these items. These are all products that originated in the mind of a designer.
Graphic designers are not people who just make things pretty. They're people who make things that are smart. The first time I met Zach, I had Zach in Type 1, and he, right from the beginning, just was an exceptionally good graphic design student.
I'd never done anything sort of hands-on art-wise in high school. I was really big into math and science, and Bill Nye the Science Guy, and all of the Science Court and the things you watched in 7th and 8th grade and earth science class and stuff. I loved all that stuff. And I had taken my love of science and my love of physics and math and structure and had combined it with my background in music and art and singing and drawing and those sort of things. And I'd kind of put them together. Design, for me, at least from what I've seen of it so far, is very much art that's been repurposed.
The POP class, which stands for Point of Purchase, is essentially a packaging design class. So in that class, what we're talking about is the marketing aspects of things like labels, containers, displays.
The beer packaging project was easily my favorite project that we've done this far. We have to build the projects, we have to actually manufacture the things. And come up with a more effective design. We were given a number of fictional breweries to choose from. I've always been into literature. I'm a huge fan of poetry. So the one I opted for was Poetic Justice. A lot of times I start with a logo. I decided that I didn't want to start with a logo necessarily this time and focus more on the word list. I wrote down poetic justice and beer and all the topics that I needed to cover, and I just wrote. And it was actually at that moment that I had the idea to look into actual poetry itself. What is it about poetry that makes it special? I mean, it's just words, isn't it? Why is it so popular? So I looked into it. I read some stuff that I hadn't read before. I read some of my old favorites, Langston Hughes, Maya Angelou, Emily Dickinson, and in doing so, I discovered that poetry, unlike any of the other art forms, literally speaks for itself. It is just words on a page, and it's those words that do all the talking. So it became pretty obvious to me that I needed to do something typographic.
I think that ultimately you do see this kind of connection between strong writing skills and strong design skills, in the sense that I think that it's all about communication. And solid writing skills are essential. And being able to think about those words and what they mean and connect them visually with something, I think is a real skill.
So I went with what we in the business call expressive typography, which is words that just through their rendering communicate their idea. For example, one of the beers was the MacGuffin Scottish Ale. MacGuffin is a plot device that sort of gives the story meaning. It's why the story is happening, but in the end it doesn't actually end up playing any purpose at all. It's sort of like The Ring in Lord of the Rings. Like, it's why they're going on this huge quest, but that's not what the story is about. It's about them on the journey. After a whole bunch of processing and revision, I came up with the style that I have now, which is the words MacGuffin Scottish Ale broken up to fit nicely on the side of the bottle, and as they go down, they lose focus. It seems visually less important. And that was actually the first one that I came up with. And it made it easier to come up with the other ones, because I knew how the other ones needed to operate also. I knew that they needed to visually represent their meaning and also be reminiscent of some films or some stories, or tap into the sort of the subconscious of the people viewing it to give them that feeling. The same with the Death Trap Triple, which is the second one I did. I actually took the letters out of the words Death Trap Triple and changed them into numbers, counting down, 3, 2, 1. As a sort of nod to every death trap that has ever been. Chekhov's gun was the hardest. Anton Chekhov, he's the first to say that if you put a loaded gun on stage in the first act, it had better go off in the second. The idea being that you don't put anything in unless you need it. So I in the end, opted for a very clean typeface, no serifs, nothing unnecessary. The dot of the I is up, acting as the apostrophe in the word Chekhov's. So it's being repurposed, in a sense. The red herring Hefeweizen was my favorite of them. It has the word stout hidden in it, in red lettering. By picking up the bottle and trying to figure out what it says in the lettering, I've stopped you and distracted you, which is exactly the definition of a red herring.
I hear from art directors and creatives all the time that when they talk to students, one of the biggest frustrations is that they want to hear them speak about their graphic design. Why did you pick the typeface that you did? Why did you choose this sort of stylization? Why this type of imagery? Why this color choice? And so we want to make sure that we're training students to not only be able to make great design, but be able to articulate why it is what they did was the correct solution.
A design student is very much like an anthropologist, because they're building something or designing something that people are going to use. And these are things that we put in our hands and we use, and sometimes use in very intimate, personal ways. They have to understand the people they're designing the product for. They have to understand who they're making it for, or who's going to be using it and why. They have to take into consideration many different aspects of that consumer group. There's a trade-off between visual aesthetics sometimes and utility.
The design process can be broken down into a handful of parts. It can start with identifying a problem. Here's a problem that has to be solved. And then it can move to brainstorming or ideation, where you come up with a lot of solutions, and then you refine that. You take all these ideas and you say, okay, we're going to vet these out and say, these make sense and these don't. And then once you have a basic design approach, you do sort of the direct engineering work. You make sure that it doesn't break, that it will last as long as you want it to, that it will actually do what it's intended to do. And then you go to manufacturing. Those are the basic design steps. Industrial design is the discipline that creates products and experiences. It's rooted actually in art primarily, but it taps into engineering as well. One of the challenges in industrial design is moving it from beyond art to the world of real and applied products and experiences and systems. Industrial design goes beyond products. It actually is connecting human interests to a variety of things, such as experiences. So industrial designers can design experiences as well. We're working with a company in Lewistown, and they said, we would like to work with industrial designers on some of their products. And I thought that was a great idea. And we've done a couple projects, and they're very appealing because they connect the students with real projects, with a real industry, with a real market, with real issues. Working with industry should be the standard for any kind of educational pursuit. And so you get this interesting group of young, idealistic, energetic, but inexperienced students working on a really neat project, but they're all together and they can share things beyond just the project. They can share their sort of vocational interests and their fears and all that sort of thing. So you get this interesting community that develops. But the best thing that industry does is they keep things real. It's not an abstract pursuit of something. It's real and tangible, and we have a real hard time replicating that. Humans are very complicated. We don't just want things that work. We surround ourselves with things of natural beauty, whether it be rings or art or clothing of various colors. There's a special connection with beauty. It doesn't necessarily mean pretty, and the whole concept of beauty is very complex, but there's something beyond the technical, beyond the mechanistic that is alluring to people. People don't go to see the Mona Lisa because they want to wait in a long line and peek their head over a head of tourists. You know, they go there to connect perhaps with Leonardo da Vinci.
Terms such as Renaissance man or polymath are used to describe clever individuals who have knowledge about a wide range of things. One of history's best-known polymaths lived during the Renaissance period more than 500 years ago. Leonardo da Vinci was one of the greatest designers in history. He was a painter, draftsman, sculptor, architect, and engineer. Even today, his paintings, including The Last Supper and the Mona Lisa, are among the world's most popular works of art. In addition to his exquisite paintings, Leonardo da Vinci left to history thousands of pages of notes and sketches that exhibit his wide range of interest. Da Vinci's observations and experiments led him to make many important discoveries that contributed to humans' understanding of the world. Curiosity, creativity, and other qualities of greatness embodied by the Renaissance-era genius are celebrated at the Da Vinci Science Center in Allentown, Pennsylvania. The Science Center has earned national recognition for its efforts to inspire and challenge young people to consider the impact of science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and the arts in 21st century careers.
Everybody ready for a fun activity? Do some science, some experimenting?
In collaboration with the Baum School of Art, the Da Vinci Science Center presents a summer camp program that explores the unmistakable overlapping of art and science. In this animation project, students learn how art is an end result of the brain's interpretation of what it sees and what it knows.
Well, a strobotop works by having two separate pieces. One being the strobe that has a pulsating, flashing LED light, which we use to work with a top that spins. And when that pulsating light strikes that top, it freezes for an instant that image that's spinning. Instead of becoming a blurry image, it now is a small still picture. And as it pulsates, it gathers a whole bunch of these still pictures, which then our mind, from seeing this, can then gather them together and it forms a moving image. So this is kind of how we can blend together science and art, because then art can use that effect, and the more science that is involved, the more you get into the physics, the anatomy, the physiology, how light works, and how the mind works, allows us to take something that is imaginary and make it real.
When we view Da Vinci's paintings in comparison with his notebooks and sketches, we realize that great work is the result of great effort. The world's best designers achieve excellence through study and practice, developing their ideas from simple sketches to finished pieces of work.
I think that one of the things that we hear more and more from art directors and from creative directors and firms that are hiring is that they want to see the sketches in the student's portfolio. Not only do they want to see the final product, but they want to know that that student can come up with ideas and articulate them using just their hands. And so, you know, for students, in my mind, graphic design students need to be in their sketchbook all the time. Sketching is about conveying idea, and it's about getting ideas down onto paper. And then we process through that and get them kind of more refined and more refined. Some ideas are better than others, and some renderings are better than others, but it's a way just to organize your ideas and to kind of see what has potential and what doesn't.
Working with stylus and mouse and so on, that's something we're doing to interface with technology. And you know, that's a moving target. At the end of the day, we create with our hands and our mind, that sort of combination. So we don't want to subordinate that to the machine. And the notion of drawing with a pencil or a pen or a marker is very human. Still a very, very important part of the design process.
Before computers, hand drawing was the foundation of design, for everything from logo design to architecture and tool making. A look through the archives of Madigan Library at Pennsylvania College of Technology shows the precision of hand drawings from the mid-20th century. These images were drawn by students of the former Williamsport Technical Institute, now Pennsylvania College of Technology. The beauty of these drawings underscores the talents of men and women who worked without the benefit of modern technology to capture the precise specifications for a variety of tools, objects, and devices. A foundation in the arts is essential in the field of design, even when technology is used to produce a final drawing. While a sketch provides a basis for inspiration, a more precise technical drawing guides the production process by communicating data and requirements for production and assembly. Complex projects may require thousands of drawings to convey all the necessary information. Individuals who create technical drawings serve an essential role in communicating ideas in industry and engineering. These professional designers contribute technical expertise that can bridge the gaps between ideas, engineering, and manufacturing.
I often ask the students, did you ever stop and think about there are machines out there that make parts. How was the first machine created? Where did it come from? Who designed it? Who made it? And how did they make it so accurate when they didn't have the tooling to measure and so on? So it's kind of intriguing when you think about that. It's like what came first, the chicken or the egg? What do I think is most interesting about CAD drafting? Whether it was mechanical or whether it's computer, is the ability to see something in your mind and then produce it either on a 2D piece of paper or a piece of CAD software to see your design come to fruition. It's like a wow moment. It's like there's the thing I thought of. You know, it's actually going to go into production. It's kind of like blows you away. It really does.
A lot of what we do in technical drawing, the creative stuff is fun and exciting, but you need to also be happy with some of the day-to-day tasks that just simply have to get done to bring a product to market. So from a career standpoint, you have to be satisfied, I guess, if you will, in the day-to-day that just needs to get done to get a job done.
Growing up, Mom told us stories of Grandpa and just all the things that he did and his involvement with the college and his trade. My parents are both teachers. Grandpa being involved as much as he is, it was just kind of made sense for me to go into the field of teaching.
Grandpa was Dr. Kenneth Carl, an architect of the Pennsylvania Community College system, who began his career as a draftsman with a world-renowned manufacturer of aircraft engines. Dr. Carl left industry to become a drafting teacher and later director of Williamsport Technical Institute, now Pennsylvania College of Technology. In the mid-20th century, the school ranked among the top 10 programs in the United States offering technical education to developing nations. Dr. Carl's leadership encouraged initiative and experimentation. He persuaded faculty to get out of the ruts and try new ways of teaching. This created an atmosphere that was vital in keeping both faculty and students intellectually alive. In his retirement, Dr. Carl became an accomplished woodcarver, and time spent in his shop inspired another future educator.
I was going to be an art teacher right up through, and high school I experienced shop. And at that point, that's when I really started to realize what I had as a grandfather, and got to spend some time in his shop in his basement. I always went in his basement just to see all the tools hanging there and observe his work. His birds, of course, were just an inspiration for being an art history, you know, or just having that background of art and how so the construction and the shop, it was just really fun to see that and inspiring. I love creativity, I love design. Just anything with flair is really inspiring to me. I got into the wood shop, and so then one of my first projects in high school was the four-poster bed that Grandpa designed in college. And I took his prints and made my own. And just once I got into construction, I was able to take that element of design and creativity and add it to the construction. It really fit my personality. So let's put the guard back down. There's your piece for your roof now, so we can...
As a teacher and an administrator, Dr. Carl followed an education for all philosophy, which he first displayed by opening his drafting classes to individuals with physical handicaps. His interest in securing equal educational opportunities led to the establishment of the nation's first comprehensive vocational diagnostic program in 1951. The program allowed individuals to test their potential to develop career skills in job trial experiences in the school's vocational shops. The National Rehabilitation Association honored Dr. Carl in 1966 and estimated that he had assisted more than 10,000 physically challenged adults in securing career education opportunities through diagnostic testing.
Once I started to find out about kids and the situation, the lifestyles they come from, and You hear these stories, and it made me think a lot about, my grandfather and how he made a big difference in people's lives. And we heard for years later of all, we'd hear stories trickling in of different people that have contacted him later in life and the impact he made on their life. And it's really been a model of where I've aspired to go. So in that time, I try to impact them as much as I can, set examples for them, show them what I'd like to see them do, encourage them in where they can go. Sky's the limit for them, and so oftentimes they come in here with such a heaviness on them, and I just want to, take those blinders off and just show them the world. And so that's what we try to do, and Grandpa inspired that so much.
Design is so much more than just something on paper. If you have the opportunity to build something, a scale model of it, how valuable. And the design build opportunity, so, it's an education in itself.
Kids like whimsy, kids like wonder, kids like magic and surprise. Grown-ups are the same way.
This is the result of a class project I had back in college several years back, and so I called it affectionately sculpture block, and just a three-dimensional sculptural cube, that is, and the whole idea is, what can somebody be creative with? It doesn't have to be in a three-dimensional cube form. Designers, whether they're architectural, whether they're engineering, whether they're product goods manufacturers, can have a tremendous impact on what the future products and services and buildings offer. Everybody has a part. So you might be involved with the designing of that good, that cabinetry, that furniture, that faceplate to that electrical outlet, that light switch itself, or even the light fixture. You all have a part. Design work can be very solitary. You can go back to your design studio, whether it's in school or whether it's in the profession, and you can hash out the needs and the wants of the client. But yet you need to be able to bounce that off of the other players involved, the consultants, the engineers, the client himself or herself.
Well, Makerspace is a wonderful environment where you're with like-minded people that like to create things. And the reason the maker movement is popular and growing is that people love to create. And a makerspace is saying, what if? What if? What if I build this? What's going to happen? What if I do this?
We're discussing the maker movement today, and it's defined in so many different ways. It's described as a technology-based extension of the DIY culture, which includes robotics, electronics, and 3D printing, but it also includes traditional activities like woodworking and arts and crafts. The movement focuses on learning and using practical skills, which I think is really important. The invention and design of useful objects. It's about creativity. I like the idea it's DIY with a tech edge. But right, everyone can participate in that. I mean, really globally, to push us forward.
The maker movement is sort of validated in the sense that, you know what, you can make mistakes, and that's probably the biggest part, is you can make mistakes. I mean, that's how you make these sort of great advances in technology and other areas, or invention, is by pursuing a whole new concept. What if, what if, what if?
I think we see that with younger children too. You know, I think about 8, 9-year-olds that are, you know, have this interest in, right, maybe it's gaming or maybe it's, you know, experimenting with science. And right, so we know that it's fun. You know, we got the fun down, and then that inspires us to go out and seek the knowledge. You know, and that might, you know, drive education really K through 12. If we have fun doing it, then we might need to know how does that work.
And chemistry, math, physics are all great precursors to the maker movement. So if makers are a spontaneous response to education, that's a wonderful thing. They're saying, I learned all this stuff, I want to try it. And I don't want to try it with a teacher there, I don't want to try it with somebody else there, I just want to take some buddies and try it and see what happens while nobody's watching. And show somebody, look what I made, and be proud of it.
And I would say too, you don't always need the math foundation first. Sometimes the creativity can spark the, oh, I need to be able to do this and I don't know how. Some of my favorite opportunities with students have been just because of that. Sitting in the hall with a student who wants to do something with their truck, and they're realizing they don't know trigonometry yet, so they don't know how to do the angle. Or the gamer who's designing a game and they're going down a tube with their computer, but they can't seem to control the speed. The tighter the tube gets, the faster their object goes, but they don't want it to go faster. And to talk about the math that's involved, you know, and it's really their play,
That
in a
drives their
sense,
interest.
that was brought up the math question, you know, that. So I see this as simultaneous learning. What I love most about math is its beauty. It is the structure. I think of mathematics as color and light and sound and form. And when I think mathematics, I definitely think beauty. And I think that what I see and what I can touch and what I can learn about things that I don't understand yet, that there's more beauty out there. I would say that math doesn't just relate to art, that math is art, and art is math, and music is art, and music is math, and they're all related. That the underpinnings are mathematical, and the things that we recognize as beauty, whether it's sound, or we find it in nature, or we find it coming from a human hand in art, that those are all mathematics. I do try to paint still. I've done some fiber work, some weaving. I also sing, and I do a lot of hiking and camping. So outside of the classroom, I'm experiencing math.
For designers, math is a tool. We don't do math in some sort of academic sense, but we use math, and we use it in a powerful way. We use it statistically to get information on human dimensions. So we look at statistics to kind of discern what sizes our products need to be, or we use statistics to get information on the marketplace. But also we use algebraic concepts when we try to understand the science that undergirds our designs. So math is a wonderful tool for communicating abstract notions. Designers shouldn't be afraid of math. They should embrace math and say, you know what, it's one of my tools.
For students to learn design, mathematically they have to know geometry. That's a fundamental basic. In order to know geometry, you have to know algebra. Beyond geometry, they have to know trigonometry. If they're going to go higher, they're going to need the kind of spatial relationships and change and flow that would come with calculus. They may also need some of the more finite structural mathematics, depending on their career. A lot of people do use their statistics in planning design, in business layout. So there's all different mathematics they could use.
When I'm meeting most especially with my advisees and they're maybe having some difficulty in their math course, I try to, I will say that to them. It's like a puzzle. It's supposed to be fun. Try to find the fun in it.
A lot of design has to do with mathematics, and computers can do, calculations that would take you a lifetime to do in seconds. So it just made it more accessible to more people. You don't have to be a PhD in every different field. You can rely on expert systems that are built into the software, so that you only have to be an expert in your narrow field, and then rely on the expertise built into the software in fields that you're not really familiar with. So it just opens up accessibility to a lot more information.
We will always need people. We will always need people to understand what the outcome should be, to make accurate predictions so they'll know if something's wrong. We will always need people to double check other people because we make mistakes. In doing mathematics, we will always need people who understand more mathematics than they're using. The only way that they'll ever be able to see an error is if they understand the bigger picture.
When technology advances, a lot of the classic ways calculations were done, we see a lot of that being simplified within the software. But in the end, when you do a design and you're trying to determine whether or not there's good integrity in that design, you have to trust the information that the software is giving you. So even though the software might automate some of the math that's required to make engineering decisions, it's still your call on whether or not that is a good design.
We progressed from the drawing board to AutoCAD, and AutoCAD is made by a company called Autodesk. And then they developed a software program specifically for the mechanical field called Autodesk Inventor. And so we started teaching Autodesk Inventor in our program. Autodesk Inventor is 3D modeling. It's actually, it's not just drafting anymore. It's now engineering design within the software. And so we're doing 3D modeling of entire mechanisms, and they work like you would expect them to. And it's something called a parametric software, where we enter parameters. For example, if I want something to be 10 inches long or 100 millimeters long or whatever, and it takes care of formulas for us. We just type in the formulas and it does the calculations for us. So we enter these parameters, and if we want to make a change, it's not starting over again. We just edit that parameter and it remodels our part for us.
Design software, we often see as it advances, there's less of a need to do your calculations in classical style, but you still have to know where these numbers are coming from, how they were generated, and I still feel that having some exposure to classical methods taught in a science class, taught in a mathematics class, is very, very valuable.
I'm a person that I like hands-on. I personally do not like a lot of exams. I prefer to give projects. Show me that you got something out of the class, that you understand the ideas behind design, or you understand the ideas how the software works and what you can do with it. About 4 years ago, I actually had the students broken up into teams. They had to design what's called a quad cycle, actually a four-wheeled pedal-powered bicycle. They had to design this, their own design. They had to give me a bill of material, the calculated length of material they needed, plus all the hardware. And the material they had to build out of was 1-inch PVC Schedule 40 pipe. The first year I did that, I had 6 teams and I had 6 fantastic PVC cars that we actually rode around, or I actually rode them too. They rode around at the end of the spring semester. They found mistakes. They were surprised to see that what they go to put things together, what looks good on the CAD does not go together real good in actuality. And they had to stop and scratch their head a little bit and figure out how they were going to put these things together when they ran into some of them, and how to keep things tight, like maybe the chain from popping off and so on and so forth. And the tolerances or the math came into play, and they had to somehow get the chain to go from the front, which is you're pedaling with your feet up front and kind of leaning back. They had to get that chain from up front clear to the back, and the tolerances, the dimensions they come up with, ran into problems that they actually stopped and had to figure out. You don't have to be a mathematician, but you do have to have the ability to do, simple calculations and so on, and the understanding of how to apply them.
Boys and girls dream about future careers. A unique Smart Girls program offered by Pennsylvania College of Technology encourages female students to pursue fields of study related to engineering, science, technology, and mathematics.
My connection with Smart Girls is just being a female role model to the girls, to show them you need not be afraid of engineering, math, science, technology, that women do it all the time. Statistically, we see that some of these career pathways can be intimidating, and just to show them the opportunity that they have. And so it's just been really wonderful to see that grow over the years.
If you take a small kid, a child, 3, 4-year-old, 5, 6-year-old, into some place, what do you tell them to do? Oh, don't touch, look, but don't touch. But what does that kid want to do? They want to pick things up. That's how we learn, about things, is we pick it up and manipulate it. And there's just something so cool about getting something in your hand that didn't exist before you came up with the idea.
Often 3D printing means the kind of consumer level things that you see being pitched to the everyday person, but additive manufacturing is the overall term that probably best describes the processes that are involved here. In terms of manufacturing, this is one of the leading edge technologies that you see in the news all the time, and sure, there's a lot of hype, but there's also a lot of promise in how things are developing. Some of the advantages are this: there's no limit to the complexity. We can make parts that you cannot traditionally machine or cast, parts with voids inside, parts that are made in ways that traditional manufacturing techniques just simply couldn't accomplish. Or if they could, it'd be very expensive. And the other thing is what we think of as rapid prototyping. That's compared against, say, making a mold or some other traditional manufacturing technique. We make things here in hours, perhaps days, that might take weeks or months in the open market situation.
At the end of the day, we're human. We're not machines. We're not rooted fully into the scientific process. We have attitudes, we have emotions and such that are hard to articulate. So that's where the designer has to act like an anthropologist and say, what's really going on? Right now we have 1,000 thoughts in our mind. They're bouncing around, and they're wonderful thoughts. But they're sort of unprocessed, and you think, well, there's a novel buried back there somewhere, there's a nice story in there, there's a poem, there's a great painting. All this stuff is bouncing around in our mind as we try to breathe and chew gum at the same time. But when you try to share that with people, you need to put it out in a public way. You need to draw it or in some form or sculpt it.
My name is Matthew Gordon. I have a varying degree of interests. I'm a welder. I'm a potter. Sculpting with clay, with steel, or designing things in steel, structures and spans, and they're all part of my interest. They're all part of what I do. I like tools since I was a little kid. Old wooden tools, the old crank drills. And that led me to blacksmithing when I was like 13 or 14. Eventually, in high school, I moved on to ceramics, a lot of pottery. Had a blast with it, and then I went off to art school. When I got out of art school, I came here for welding engineering. My mother works here. It's close to my home. I was expecting not to like it, and I loved everything about the program. It does a lot with math and drawings and design, as well as they throw you in weathers out in the shop, and you're sitting out there sweating with everybody else, throwing sparks. So it's the short version of how I got here. I hated math for a long time, until I got to calculus. And then when everything started making sense and like clicking together, I was like, oh, this is really cool. The Fibonacci sequence is a math sequence that shows up everywhere. It shows up in nature, it shows up in art and design. If you ever look at Roman or Greek architecture, and the columns and the curves and the patterns that are set up to hold massive amounts of stone and weight. And yet you're looking at it and I'm like, there's not much here to actually hold it up. And yet they're here how many years later? Look at Da Vinci's work and all of his drawings and designs follow the Fibonacci sequence. His Vitruvian Man, the man with 4 legs and 4 arms scribed inside of a circle with all of the angles going out. That's supposed to be like the perfect proportions. It was based off of a golden ratio, and that's me being a nerd here, but I love it. That's why it's on my skin. It's applicable to so much, and the math itself behind the Fibonacci sequence is one of the simplest. You only have to understand addition, and you've got the whole thing.
Everything that works really has real aesthetic beauty to it. And so when I see a student's design, that if it doesn't strike me as being aesthetically beautiful, right off the bat, I kind of suspect that it's also not going to be functionally, beautiful. It's not going to serve its purpose real well. It's like the best solutions are also aesthetically really pleasing. And that's one thing that we can learn from nature. When we look around us, it seems like everything in nature that really works well is also really beautiful.
The designers who can do well in the future, I think, are going to be able to be comfortable in a variety of different environments. Certain things are going to be constantly changing, but it's also going to be an opportunity for designers to find new ways to kind of branch out and find new avenues to create design.
For everyone that likes to design, you have to grab that Crayola. You got to grab that pencil. You got to get a piece of paper and just draw, draw, draw. It's a beautiful thing.